the 25th of February. It is just coming up to about 8:45, and I am logging in to my work account on the day of the Ireland Reads initiative. This is something that was set up by Libraries Ireland to get the people of Ireland to pick up a book, to get reading, and to pledge a little bit of time throughout the day to actually get some reading done. For today, I have pledged 3.5 hours, which I felt was pretty doable on a day where I had a pretty busy work day, wanted to get a little bit of reading done, but didn't really know how much time I would have to get it done. Let's get something started. If I'm going to spend at least 3 of the 24 hours that we get today reading, I should probably tell you what it is I'm going to read. The problem is, I don't know. I started Rose Interrupted by Patrice Lawrence last night, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I'm about 50 pages in before I fell asleep, and it is about a girl, her brother and her mother, who escape a religious cult and are now trying to live life on the outside and come to terms with how the modern world is without having the rules and the regulations of the cult that they have been living their entire lives. I'm usually a big fan of books about cults, but I don't know what it is about this one. It's just not really grabbing me as much as another book about a cult would have. So instead, I am thinking maybe I'm going to pick up something from my NetGalley shelf, which definitely needs a little bit of attention, and I'm going to take one of those off. I have got 3.5 hours today to get all of this done, so that is definitely something doable. I'm also going to listen to the audiobook of Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding while I'm at work. I'm mainly doing that to get reacquainted with the story, but also I like to have an audiobook on in the background while I'm at work, so it will give me something that I can kind of have in the background, not really pay attention to it, but also have some noise going on. So, here we go. By the end of today, we want this to read 3.5 hours. This is my second, maybe third time actually rereading Bridget Jones's Diary. And every time I reread it, I am absolutely struck by how she thinks 9.5 stone is fat. And this time I think it resonated with me more because I'm a lot closer to Bridget's age than any of the other times that I've read this book. And I remember looking back on my early 20s a couple of years ago and thinking, I was so much thinner back then than I had ever thought that I was. So I wonder if Bridget, when she reads back over her diaries in a couple of years, will ever think, what was I doing thinking 9.5 stone was heavy? I had such a dysmorphic version of my body. But anyway, that's Bridget Jones. I said earlier that I was going to move on to my physical book, but I did mean ebook. I am going to read a copy of You've Got Mail by Kate G. Smith. I will admit that this was very much a title get, in that the title of it is exactly the same as the film You've Got Mail, one of my absolute favorite films from the 90s. I have very high hopes for this book, specifically from the title alone. Do you ever get this reader's guilt where you feel like you should be reading constantly, even though that's not viable in terms of how much time you have? For example, I know that it's right now just gone 3:20. I still have about an hour and a half left in work. And I just caught sight of my tablet and I have about 54 minutes of the day that I wanted to read. I have about 54 minutes gone. That doesn't feel like a whole lot to me, but there's also not really a whole lot that I can do about it because I'm still at work until 5 o'clock. But I've read some of my book over lunch. I really enjoyed You've Got Mail by Kate G. Smith. I read like the first maybe 5 to 10% of it. From how I understand it, it's about a woman called Grace who gets an email breaking up with her from somebody she's never met before, and it doesn't address anybody by name, so she doesn't know who it's from, she doesn't know who it's intended for, but she goes out to respond to this person and tell them that breaking up via email is not the kind of thing that you want to do. And I have a feeling that he's going to appear in life later on in the book. Work is done. It's about 5:20. Work is done. I'm done. It's time to go. I am going to go shopping for some groceries because I've got to get stuff for dinner this evening. When I get back, I'm going to sit on that chair and I'm going to read for minimum 45 minutes. I wonder how that's gonna go, but that's what I'm aiming for. I'm also not gonna read, not gonna listen to my audiobook while I'm on this walk because I feel really weird about it, but I'm not gonna be able to update my timer while I'm outside. I'm holding this tablet so gently out of fear of pressing the reset button, but I don't know if you can see it in focus. That looks pretty good to me. So we've got an hour and 15 minutes done. That means an hour and 40 minutes are left to go. Right now it's just turning 7 o'clock and I need to start making dinner at about 7:45. So what I'm gonna do is I'm setting myself a 45-minute reading goal. I'm going to read non-stop for these 45 minutes, and hopefully then, if my calculations are right, that means I will have 2 hours and 35 minutes done. So that's just under an hour to get read between when dinner is cooked and when I have to go to sleep. I can do that. I can definitely do that. Here we go. What did I say would happen? Okay, at least I knew that I had an hour and 50 minutes done. So it might not show 3 hours and 30, but I know I've got an hour and 40 left to go. I'm not gonna panic. I'm not gonna curse out anything. I'm just going to read now for 45 minutes and reset, like my clock just did. Something that has been an absolute godsend to me recently are reading sprints, and India, from what India read, is currently hosting them right now. There's about 38 minutes to go. I've actually just hopped onto it now, and I am going to hop onto them as well. Dinner is done. I've done the sprints already, and with all of that put in, I have read for a total already of 1 hour and 25 minutes. So that, added on to what we had already before, is 2 hours and 15, which means I just need 15 minutes so I can get it all done. That means it would take me up to about 10 o'clock, which sounds pretty doable. So I am going to finish up reading, and then when I have the 15 minutes done, I'm going to check in here for the last time. And that's it. It's done. 3.5 hours total, broken into two splits of an hour 50 and an hour 40. I think that makes up 3.5 hours. But 2 books have been read throughout the course of the day. So I started with an audiobook of Bridget Jones's Diary, and that was a reread for me. So I kind of knew the story quite a lot before I already went into it. I enjoyed it. But as you read Bridget Jones, and as times change, and as things change, and realities, people's opinions of their bodies and all that, you do kind of think to yourself that Bridget is not as fat as she thinks she is. She is starving herself. She is basically living a pretty unhealthy lifestyle, even when you take into account that she's an alcoholic and a smoker. I've also been reading, for most of the evening, I've been reading You've Got Mail by Kate G. Smith. I actually haven't picked up Bridget Jones at all today, since, I'll be honest, I'm getting a lot of Bridget Jones vibes from this, specifically because the main character feels very Bridget Jones. She's hungover quite a lot. She has a very tight-knit group of friends. I believe she lives in London, but that hasn't really been confirmed. Her mother also seems like a bit of a difficult to get along with person, and it's looking like she's going to have an office romance, which kind of ticks another Bridget Jones box. I am pretty interested to see where this book goes. So I think, even though I've officially read my 3.5 hours, I'm probably going to keep reading until I go to bed. But I'm going to end the vlog here. I really love what Libraries Ireland did for this today. It has been fantastic to just specifically put time aside for reading, or say I might read something while dinner is in the oven while it's getting ready. It's been great to actually specifically say, I need to read this and I'm going to finish this before whenever, because I want to read for another 20 minutes because that's what's on the clock.
I really enjoyed this squeeze in a read day, and I would definitely take part if they run it again. That is the end of the vlog. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.